And here with reaction to all of the breaking news this weekend, as well as my opening statement, Counselor to the President, Kellyanne Conway. Good evening, Kellyanne.
Good evening.
What about what is happening? I'm going to go right to Syria now, since that is the news of the hour. And is the president confident that what he has done, along with the UK and France, sufficient to send the message that he wanted to send?
Indeed. In fact, this president led an effort, along with France and the UK, to join together and issue precise, overwhelming, and effective strikes on Syria. This is after they concluded that, in fact, Syria had used chlorine and sarin gas against its own innocent people, and that Assad is culpable, Jeanine. And this is also about Russia. Russia's had 4 years to get these chemical warfare out of Syria and has failed to do that. Tried to embarrass the United States and the UK and France today at the UN Security Council by having a condemnation vote. Only mustered 3 votes, Russia, China, and Bolivia. That failed. And the president took action here that was not impulsive and was very decisive. He was very deliberative over a series of days, conferring with his security team and making sure that they had first confirmed what they thought had happened. Assad doesn't seem interested in international cooperation and monitoring. And as the president and our commander-in-chief said last night in his remarks to the world, that you know a country by the company it keeps. And the U.S. was standing with the UK and France in striking Syria, which is being propped up by Russia and Iran. And the world should take notice.
You know what's interesting, Kellyanne, is I recall all the times that Barack Obama had talked about his international coalition and all the people who were with the United States, and we were at the helm. And none of this happened. And now that this has happened for the second time, do you think that this will stop? I mean, was this an operation that would put more of this chemical weaponry to rest or destroy most of it?
Well, I spoke with Ambassador Nikki Haley today, and she confirmed for me that the strikes did go right to a major hub of the chemical weapons. Certainly others say that Syria is still capable of using them, but it's important that the international community see what happened here and what the response was. And really getting Assad to understand that this country and our allies, at the very least in the UK and France, will not sit idly by and look the other way and pretend that there's no interest for this country and other countries when he's gassing his own people. But there's confidence that they struck at the hub and took out major sources. There's no telling what Assad will do next. I think it past was prologue here. He did it almost exactly a year ago to the day. And this president took action then also. He's been leading on this issue for over a year now and will continue to do so. I really want to commend everybody to his public remarks too, Jeanine. They're really worth a read for everyone from last night.
All right. I want to ask you now the question about Comey and the book that's coming out on Tuesday. The whole concept of the book, and I've read parts of it, it seems like a petty, like a couple of girls in kindergarten, where he's like, he did this and he did that and he did this, and there's no big reveal in this book, is there?
Oh, there's no big reveal at all. And if anything binds a very politically charged, sometimes overly partisan Washington, D.C. on both sides of the aisle, it's the agreement that Jim Comey doesn't have much credibility. I mean, former governor of Vermont and presidential aspirant himself, Howard Dean, had said of Comey that he, quote, destroyed the credibility of the FBI forever and went on the side of Putin. Tim Kaine, who ran on her ticket, also called him out. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all these Democrats. Harry Reid said, of course, he should resign. And he was the leader in the Senate at the time. So there are very few things that bind Washington together. The other thing about the book is not only does it not reveal anything, but it seems like Jim Comey wants his legacy to be this book and the money that will flow from it in these interviews. But his legacy will be somebody who lied under oath to Congress. He actually destroyed Huma Abedin, too. Remember, he lied to Congress. He said there were hundreds of thousands of emails on that laptop computer, it turned out there were 2 or 3 that were classified.
Yeah,
and the
but
FBI
you know what,
had
Kellyanne?
had to abridge his testimony almost immediately.
I wish that we had someone who could make him accountable for lies before Congress. But I want to thank you, Kellyanne, for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Jeanine.
All right. And joining me now with more on the airstrikes in Syria, retired General Anthony Tata, author of the upcoming book Reaper Ghost Target, and retired Lieutenant Colonel and Fox News military analyst David Hunt. All right, Colonel Hunt, I'm going to go to you first. What are these airstrikes? What is the message that these airstrikes, not just by the United States, but joined by France and the UK, what message do they send, not just to Syria, but to Russia and Iran?
In context, Judge, we did this last year, about the same time, to an air base. The problem is, between that strike and this one, there's probably about 12 chemical attacks that Assad's done on the regime. The message we attempted to send is, don't do this. The problem is it's not effective because it doesn't get at the Russian involvement in Iran, which we're unwilling to do. So this, although it's very capable strike, was well-timed, very precise, well done by the military, which is the best in the world. The message, in my opinion, was limited, and it does not attempt, it won't stop Assad from using his chemical weapons again.
All right, I'm going to go to you, General Tata. What about North Korea? I asked about Russia and Iran. What impact does this have on North Korea, if any?
I think North Korea is watching all of this. This is a president that's very resolute, that is actually synchronizing all the elements of national power, as we've talked about on your show before, diplomatic, information, military, economic. And he's done that in North Korea through diplomacy, military, flexible deterrent options, economic olive branches, and information warfare. His tweets are information warfare.
Yeah.
Now you turn and you apply that to what's happened here in Syria. You know, he's worked the diplomatic piece. He got a coalition, France, Great Britain, and really they're the only 2 NATO countries that are interested in fighting. The rest are part of the cocktail circuit. So, they've got the real fighters there in NATO. And
okay. Let me go to you, Colonel Hunt. What do you think about if Assad were to use chemical weapons again? Are we to assume that we're going to go back in again? Although I understand that this attack wasn't just on the plant, but it was on the research and development. It was on where they created some of these items, that it was more than what it was a year ago. Do you ever foresee us sending boots on the ground?
No, this, again, the context of this is we've been at war for over 17 years. And we've got Afghanistan and 15 in Iraq. And that's the context. Also, because the Russians are so prominent there, they're putting a naval base in, and the Iranian influence, we've got about 2,000 soldiers on the ground advising. I do not see us, and I'd recommend against it, getting in the middle of this Syrian war, which, by the way, the Syrian and Russian Iran have won. That war is about done because of Russia and Iran's involvement.
Okay, and finally, General, what do you make of the left opposing the president's action in Syria?
Well, the left is obsessing over porn stars and fiction novels like Comey's book, and while the president is doing the hard business of foreign policy that Obama was just never interested in. The president has allowed us to defeat ISIS. He's got North Korea to the negotiating table. He's taken very firm action, as Nikki Haley said today. A red line means something to us in this president. And so this president is working hard for the American people, whereas Obama and Comey and the rest of that were just in trying to aggrandize their power.
Just make-believe lines in the sand.
That's right.
General Anthony Tata, Colonel David Hunt, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And J. Christian Adams and Joe Concha still ahead, but next, Anthony Scaramucci comes to justice. He'll join me live in a moment. Don't go away.